Welcome back to the art channel, everyone. We're going to go ahead and begin with our brain break. So sitting up nice and tall, teetering the body from side to side, really elongating through the chest, keeping eyes open or closed, taking that left hand, placing it on the heart, taking the right hand, placing it on the belly, and beginning to breathe in through your nose. Feel the belly expand, the rib cage expand, the chest expand. Open mouth exhale. Let the chest fall, let the ribs fall, squeeze the belly to spine. Inhaling, sweeping arms up overhead. Exhaling, bringing those hands back to your heart. Inhale, bringing the arms out to a T. Exhale, releasing them down by the sides. Now the hands can stay as they are or be placed on top of the legs. Inhale, staying upright. Exhale, bring that chin to chest and breathe. Now option to stay as you are or maybe paint smiley faces or semicircles on the chest. So just moving the chin from right to left to right. One more breath. Coming back to stillness. Inhale, rising the crown of the head, sweeping arms up. Exhale, bring the hands to the heart. Inhale, bring the arms to cactus, sway, sway. Exhale, release it all down. Very, very good. So another brain break to show you, especially now that we have been working more on the computer, it's really good to breathe into our necks and do those little stretches, adding some breath to movement to just kind of get you loosened up and feeling a little less tension in the neck and shoulders. So last week we were working on our radial balance, and now we're moving on to creating space in art and the illusion of space in art. So remember that space, boys and girls, is the seventh element of art, okay? So we have 7 elements of art, starting with the line, shape, color, form, texture, value, and space. So space simply means when we have an area. So this is our area, our paper, and it's the areas in between, around, above something to create an illusion that we're actually seeing a space. So even though this is a 2-dimensional piece of paper, we are seeing a background here, we're seeing a tree, and then some leaves and a chameleon. So it makes it look like we're actually looking into a 3-dimensional space when we're in reality just have this flat piece of paper. So there's a couple of different ways to create space in your artwork. And the first thing we do is we want to create a background, which is always the top of the paper, a middle ground, which is always what's in the middle, and the foreground. So this piece is a little different from what we normally have done when we're talking about space with our landscapes, when we have background, middle ground, foreground, and everything's nicely spelled out. We have our awesome chameleon here, and he is actually in the foreground. Him and the tree are in the foreground. And they start in the foreground, and we know that they are in the foreground even though they take up most of the page still, because they are the closest thing to us. So that's also one thing that's very important when we're talking about space is size. So remember that anything is closest to us is going to be bigger, and anything that is farther away from us will be smaller. These are ways that we can also create that illusion of space. So just like in our radial balance too, the chameleon is showing emphasis here. He still is the most important thing on the piece of paper. And we are going to create that by making him large. So he is in the foreground, but he also takes up most of the page, and also by adding in that nice detail. So you can see that we've got some good value going on here. So we've got some darker areas and then some lighter areas to bring in that nice detail. Now, I use the marker and the watercolors, but whatever you have at your house will work. So if you just have pencil and paper, that will totally be fine. You can use your value and shading then. Or if you want to just use markers, crayons, whatever you have, remember, is perfectly fine. So really, I'm using whatever I have at my house too. So this is what I've been using. Now, when we're creating our chameleon, we want to make sure if we do have that pencil, we will want to start with the pencil. Remember, I always start with the marker, but you want to start with your pencil because the first couple steps might be a little tricky. So go ahead and get your supplies now and we will begin. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started, and we will be creating emphasis with our chameleon and also showing a nice space and using size in that space. So really what's going in the foreground is that chameleon, even though he starts more in the center of the page. So he's still considered the foreground because he is what is closest to us. And we're gonna draw him first. Remember, you can use the marker. I always use markers so you can just see. It's a little harder for you to see the pencil. But I suggest using your pencil first and then marker next. So you can see my paper is vertical, going up and down. That's what you would want to do first. And we're going to start with the chameleon's head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a nice kind of like wavy line that goes down with a little ridge at the top, or the bottom of the line, like so. Next, I'm going to have the line go out here. And then this one is going to come up and out. It's going to go down, kind of curve around. It's a really awkward, weird shape, but it'll eventually all come together. Now at the left side of that line, I'm going to make a nice little wavy line. This is for his mouth. And then to close out the shape here, I'm going to have a curved line that goes in and then goes right back out. So remember, anytime I'm going too fast, you can always pause this video. That's the beauty of our YouTube channel. So we'll start with the eye, just making a nice little circle there. And then their pupils are always really tiny. So I'm just gonna make a cute little dot like so. So now what we're gonna do, weirdly enough, we're actually going to make his legs first. So when you're making his legs, I'm gonna use the head as a guiding point. So I'm gonna go towards the diagonal right, so kind of slanting down towards the right, and I'm just gonna make a little upside down U shape. And I'm gonna leave it open. Now to close it out, I'm gonna have this diagonal U shape going from here all the way the other side. And so I'm making his little feet here. I'm gonna make kind of like a peanut or bean shape, like so. So think of that kidney bean table in your classroom, similar to that shape. I'm just going over my lines here. Okay, and now I'm going to do, so that's kind of more like his arm. Now we're gonna do his leg down below. So I'm gonna just go directly below here, and I'm going to make a U first, going towards the left part of my paper. Now it's going to get a little skinnier as it fades up, and then think of a leg, so it's going to go diagonal, slanted line again. And next, I'm gonna make another little kidney bean. So these are the cute little legs of our chameleon. And I can start to see the body for sure. Maybe you do as well. imaginary. And before we do anything else, we're going to start making the tree that he's hanging off of. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna start with a line that goes right behind the foot. It's gonna go in curve towards the edge of my paper here. I'm gonna have it go up, out, all the way behind, and almost touch the chameleon to the other side. And so this is the branch that he's hanging off of. So now I can make, since it's not just a line, it's gonna be three-dimensional. I'm gonna have it curve in, and you can see it's gonna get bigger. Maybe have a wave in it as it goes down. And this is the branch for our chameleon. Next, we're gonna make the body. So you wanna make that curved line that goes all the way to the edge of the paper, all the way past the legs, almost to the bottom, and then comes back around. So it's almost like a big C here. And we're going to continue our line on the other side, and this is really important. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make that spiral line like so. Now, this is just a line. We wanna make it three-dimensional, remember? So I'm gonna make a line that goes out, comes up, and then comes all the way back around and goes to the back of the branch. So then you can actually see that this is a true curved spiral line of his tail. Now you can see we're missing a little bit of something here. We're missing his body line. So we were going to connect from here. It's gonna go all the way to that leg, past that leg, all the way to the second one. And there is the first part of our chameleon. Now what we're gonna do is we wanna make those little zigzag lines underneath his chin. And next, you wanna do the same for his back. So these can be a little longer, a little bigger. And they're going to go pretty far down. Maybe they even come off the page a little. So I'm gonna stop right about here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in other types of detail. So what you can do is you can maybe do another branch. This is where I want you to add the background piece that's a little different from mine. So you can add some leaves here. Maybe one leaf comes out this way. And these are just truly going in that background. And then I'm gonna add some leaves down below in our foreground area. Oh, I just realized you couldn't see there. And then maybe one more coming out this way. So this step, I really want you to be creative. You can do bugs, you can do leaves, whatever other steps you want to do. Maybe add some more around here. Get creative. Remember, think outside of the box. This is your piece. So you are showing landscape, or you're showing a landscape, so you can have your background. Maybe you can see there's a mountaintop behind here, getting some depth. But we're showing emphasis by still making the focal point the chameleon. He's the most important thing in our piece. But I'm showing that I have a background. A middle ground can be what's behind the tree limb, and then the foreground is going to be our chameleon because he is the most important thing and he's what's in front of us. So this next step, this is when you can start outlining if you need to do that, if you use your pencil first. And then you want to start creating and adding color. You can use your colors however you like. I will be using watercolors for mine, so I'll do a little time-lapse video of you watching me doing my watercolors. But remember, any type of color works. Now, what I'd like to see when you're making your colors is using that value. So certain areas of that color, make them darker, and certain areas make them lighter. So you can do that with the watercolor by adding more paint or darker paints in certain places, and then making it fade out with just a little light wash of watercolor. If you're using markers, you can do the same thing, or with pressure, darkening the pressure by pressing harder on the marker, and then if you want a lighter value, making it lighter. Same thing with crayons, or if you just want to use pencil and graphite, you can do that as well. So have fun. Remember, you can listen to music while you're doing this and just enjoy the process and relax to creating your colorful chameleon.